evening, and welcome to the Behind the Lens podcast. I'm your host, Avery. On tonight's episode, we'll be talking about long exposure photography and time-lapse photography. The three things that are necessary for both of these techniques are: one, an intervalometer. When you're purchasing your intervalometer, make sure that you buy the correct intervalometer with the correct connector that will connect to your camera. The next thing is a good sturdy tripod. For beginners, a heavy old tripod will work just fine. But if you want to kind of go out more, remote places, you would like a nice lighter tripod. Here I have a carbon fiber tripod made by Rocketfish. And the next thing, the third and last thing you'll need is a digital SLR camera that your intervalometer connects with. To start off, we'll talk about long exposure photography. What long exposure photography means is leaving the shutter open longer than normal. So that could be 30 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, a half an hour, as long as you want. When you start to get up to the higher times, your image starts to get overexposed. So it's really just a trial and error thing. Okay, so what you want to do to connect your intervalometer to your camera is you're going to find the port where it connects to it. And that would be down here on my camera. You're going to take it, you're going to plug it in. And that's really it. My camera, by default, can do the slowest exposure it has is 30 seconds. So just without even using this, I can do an exposure of up to 30 seconds. And then after that, there's a mode called bulb mode. It's on Nikons, it's usually called bulb, or on Canons, it's sometimes just called B. And what that allows you to do is, for however long the shutter is pressed down, the shutter will be open. So that means you can set it to be whatever interval you want, or whatever length of time you want. A specific variation of long exposure photography is astrophotography, where you're taking pictures of stars and planets. For that, there's a one simple, guideline to follow. It's called the rule of 600. So for the rule of 600, you take your focal length that you're shooting at, and you multiply it. If it's a crop sensor body, so it's either a DX sensor on a Nikon or a APS-C sensor on a Canon, multiply it by your crop factor. This camera would be 1.4. And so 18 is what I'm shooting at right now. 18 times 1.4 is 25.2. And then what you're going to do is you're going to divide 600 by 25. That's 25 is a nice even number, and that really won't make a difference between that 0.2. And what that gives you is 24. So what that number means is that when you're shooting stars move. So when you're starting to get to the longer exposures, stars will start streaking and make lines. So in order to get stars as distinct dots, you want to keep it at 24 seconds or slower when you're doing astrophotography. Okay, so I've got my intervalometer here next to my D7000, and it's all connected up and it's all ready to go. The camera's on. Make sure when you're doing these, once you get your focus, turn your focus to manual, and also if your lens has vibration reduction, make sure you turn that off also. So I'm going to go here, and I'm actually going to stop that, and I'm actually going to go to the long mode on your intervalometer. You're going to press set, and I'm going to take let's do a 30-second exposure. No, let's do 45, because I can do the camera to 30 seconds. So I just scroll up to 45 on my intervalometer, press set, and then all I need to do is, first you're going to want to change your camera setting to bulb, which is usually after all the seconds, so it says bulb. And what you're going to do is just hold down your shutter button either on your camera or on your intervalometer. And it's taking your shot, so it's counting down on here, and it's keeping that open for that amount of time. So right now it's completely dark outside, and after this we'll show you what this 45-second exposure looks like. Okay, now we're going to transition to time-lapse photography. What time-lapse is you're taking a sequence of pictures every 10 seconds, every minute, every hour, and then putting them together into a movie after, and it plays back a long event in a shorter amount of time. This specific camera actually has a long exposure mode built into the interval timing mode built into the camera, but I prefer to, that's all, but most cameras do not have that feature, so I just prefer to use the intervalometer, which we also used just before in our long exposure photography. So what you're going to want to do to set this up is you're going to go to long and change that back to 0, since we'll be using the settings on the camera, and there's going to be an interval marking on the top, a label, and you're going to scroll over to that, and you're going to go down, and you can change it from anywhere from 1 second to 99 hours. So that means the interval, it will take a picture every 1 second, every 2 seconds, and so forth. I'm going to set this interval to around 15 seconds. Actually, I'm going to set it around 30. And what I'm going to do in the camera is I'm going to set this to a 15-second exposure. So what that really means is there's going to be 15 seconds between each picture, because you've got a 30-second exposure here, but you have a 30-second interval here and a 15-second exposure here. So the difference between that equals 15. So that means every 15 seconds it'll take another picture lasting for 15 seconds.